Hello and welcome to our podcast, Language Matters. My name is Ludmila Golovine and I'm the CEO of MasterWord Services. Today we have an amazing guest, Ahmed Abdulmajeed, who started his journey in Iraq. And I believe, Ahmed, you were a doctor, a surgeon in Iraq, and then you have this incredible journey as a refugee, and now you're working in language access. So, Ahmed, tell us more about yourself.
Hi, Mila. Great to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to share my journey and my approach to language access with you and with the podcast. I think my journey with, my career journey started, as you said, like in Iraq as a doctor. I have always liked surgery, and I gravitated towards it in medical school and found myself in a very prestigious program in a hospital in the middle of a trauma zone in Iraq and during the civil war in Iraq. And I had just graduated then from my school and got assigned there. And I worked a year as a we call it a rotator in Iraq, and then I worked more as specifically into cardiovascular surgery, and um, and then because of situation in Iraq, I had to flee the country. Long story, and I ended up as a refugee in Jordan. So like one day I am working towards becoming cardiovascular surgeon in Iraq, and to the second day I'm just another UN refugee case.
So
Yeah.
you were in an actual refugee camp setting?
No, I thankfully I was fortunate enough to have enough resources to make my own way in Jordan, have my own logistics taken care of. But there are a lot of Iraqis who lived in camps and refugee camps, and the process that I went to is the same process that they went to. I just thankfully didn't need as much support as they did during my process because my family was there for me. I had enough resources from working with in Iraq for as a doctor.
You lost everything. You lost your entire life in
I,
a
lo-
way.
I that that's a yeah. I lost my like my career direction. So because it's very like I had a very clear career direction. You finish medical school, you become a doctor, you specialize, and then maybe you get a leadership position in medicine, and that was I thought was my track, and that's why I like to also share my stories with refugees because at the time, I thought everything in my life had led me to become a surgeon, and that becoming a surgeon was the most fulfilling um, career of my life. And because my mother had taught me embroidery since I was a kid, so when I got into surgery, stitching was very easy for me. Almost like felt like another form of art that I could do. Um, and so when I lost that, I thought that it was going to be really hard for me to find that purpose again, that fulfillment. But here I am, like looking back and feeling that I'm living the life of my dreams, fulfilled beyond my dreams. I tell people that as long as you feel your purpose in what you do, keep it and cherish it, and know that you can find purpose in so many ways of contributing. You know, Saving lives in emergency trauma doctor is very fulfilling. Being a community doctor that does interventions for a whole community is another uh, fulfillment as a wider scale. For example, um, that takes more time to yield results, for example, and more planning, strategic planning. And the same for me right now in my role, having this very dynamic position in MasterWord in which I get to advise and help our clients and our partners into um, providing their patients with appropriate language and communication access. And my purpose comes from knowing that the skills that I have, the perspective that I have, being a doctor, coming to the US as a refugee, speaking another language, having the knowledge of working in the interpretation industry as a medical interpreter and scheduler, as a supervisor, that my perspective is unique and my contribution is unique, and that I can influence the industry in a very unique way.
Why not go back to being a doctor? Why did you choose to work in the language industry, and why did you choose the journey of advocating language access and helping clients implement language access programs?
I think the choice came to me. I didn't seek the choice, but it came to me, and then I felt very empowered in it, and I kept it. When I came to the US, I started working on getting my degree matched in the US, and it's a very long, it's at least a 2 years process that you study full time, and to just go back to where you started after leaving medical school. So, and as I was starting in it, I found a job as a medical interpreter in Michigan. And as I was working as an interpreter, I started feeling very connected to that role of interpretation, because it has elements of um, language experience and cultural experience, which is something I really love learning and sharing the cultural aspect of this industry, and also connecting with everyone, connecting with the staff and connecting with the patients, because I've been on both sides. So when I found that role, I felt really fulfilled, and I gravitated towards it more and more. Um, and it was, for me, I could see myself in it, in that role. I can see myself fulfilled much more clearer than had I pursued medicine in the US. So I decided to pursue it. So I got a master's degree in health administration because I wanted to impact change on a scale that is like a bigger scale, I would say. And so I wanted to influence how we serve non-English speaking patients, how we serve deaf and hard of hearing patients, and I could influence it if I learned more about hospitals, for example, how they work, how they do their budgets and billing, and like the administrative things that, it's like you don't casually know. You need kind of training to do that. Yeah.
So you are a surgeon. You also have a master's in healthcare administration, and that puts you in a way in a unique position. And then of knowing and understanding the healthcare system from the inside, and you have been a refugee yourself. What would you say are the biggest kind of pain points and challenges that the refugees face in their journey, or in even being in their journey and in being able to get access to healthcare system?
I think one of the main challenges that refugee face is the gaps in between the services, that the touch points that the language services are, I would say, access. Like the services that there are so many services provided by the government that are not easily accessible to people who don't speak English. And the efforts to make these services accessible um, have been made without taking in account um, what those people perspective is. So I think we need more discussions with the refugees themselves. We need people who can be liaisons with the refugee, immigrant, deaf and hard of hearing community, so that they can liaise between us and them, and so that we can close these gaps and see where we need to improve. Like we don't only need to provide an interpreter for them during, for example, a hospital appointment. We need to also translate their discharge instructions. We need to make them welcome even from our websites, from our marketing efforts. When I open a website and I see the language of it, is in my native language and it's been localized to my native language, I immediately feel connected to that person, whoever did that effort to make this website accessible to me and welcoming to me. That's like the best sign of welcome you can give to someone.
And, some people may ask a question, why help the refugees? Or some people may have a perspective that, refugees may be incredibly uneducated and unskilled people coming in and becoming a burden of a society. What, you know, from your perspective, and I know you're very involved with refugee organizations, you're on the board of PAIR, and tell us more about that. Who are the refugees? Who are the people coming to this country? And now the world is disrupted by many wars and many disasters. So there's unfortunately a lot of refugees, right? So who
Right.
are the refugees? What is, tell
There
us
are
more.
many reasons people there are many reasons people come to the United States as refugees, and most of them is how destabilized their countries are, mostly by wars and sometimes by extreme economic um, disasters, I would say. So, and they flee. Most people flee and come as refugees. Most people they come for their kids. They're bringing kids. They're bringing people with them for to protect them. And it's like, of course, there is a right thing to do because we in the United States lead so many efforts in terms of human rights and trying to do what's right for people. And I think one thing is to realize that those people, and we've seen that over and over again, like those people, every one of them, their experience is so unique that they always have the potential to contribute something. And we can't tap into that potential if we don't empower them. And one of the biggest way of empowering them is to give them access to our education system, to our healthcare system, to our, employment, and investing in that translation of their skills into um, our system so that we can definitely use them, and they contribute a lot. A lot of the scientists we have in the US are immigrants and are refugees too. And you can see every refugee wave that came to the US had contributed greatly to the US economic system, education system, science, technology innovations. Um, and that's why, like, for example, I take my role as a board member in PAIR very seriously, because what we do is we do after school mentorship for refugee kids. So when refugees come to the US, the US healthcare system, sorry, the US healthcare, again, healthcare. I love healthcare, so I gravitate towards healthcare. The U.S. Education system, when students, refugees come to the U.S., the U.S. education system is very different than the education system of their country. So what we do is that we, in these after-school mentorship programs, is that we try to show them how to navigate that system instead of having them navigate it on their own. And so we have mentors that will show them how to take classes, how to submit your work, explain everything they need to know so that they can not only survive, because that's what refugees come in with the mentality of. They come in with the survival, like, I just need to survive this semester or this year. And then, like, once I feel comfortable, I'll start thinking about my future. And that's very understandable. But what if we can not do that? What if we can support them so that the minute they come here, they start thinking of, what do I want to do in the US? How do I achieve my goals and ambitions? So that's why even the name of PAIR is the Partnership for the Advancement and Immersion of Refugees.
And wasn't Albert Einstein a refugee too during World War II? So just as an example of some of the great and amazing refugees that come to this country. So um,
Exactly.
and also I don't think he, probably needed language access help. So your passion of or your mission today is to help people who come to this country shine. Is that how I see it? Shine to their
Yes,
full potential.
correct.
And you're enabling that through helping establish language access and language access to education, language access to healthcare. And so if you were to um, what do you see as the challenge that are faced by the systems here, by the schools, by the hospitals? What challenge do you see that are faced on the client side?
I think we are in a transition point, and hopefully I am correct that we are transitioning to something more inclusive. So I think we're in the transition point because you were around when language access was not even something that was highlighted as a compliance issue or as a liability or um, even risk, concern. And now it is one of the biggest considerations for hospitals, schools, like language access, equity and equality in education. I think what's the next step, and that's what needed to resolve a lot of the challenges, is that to see state and federal budgets invested into it, to see legislation coming out of our legislative branches to fund and to um, solidify some of the um, statutes or the legal language around language access and what that would mean. I think that's what's needed, and I think there is a gravitation towards that currently. And I hope that is what I'm seeing is correct. And I hope to see these kind of investment into these resources because currently most hospitals budget for these things for language access and communication access, mostly language access on their own. And if you're a small business, for example, and you might not have access to state funding to provide equity of access to um, non-speaking English clients.
Okay, Ahmed, thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your journey. Again, it's an incredible journey,
Thank you.
and I think in my eyes, you continue to fix how you call it fix people's hearts in a way as a surgeon, but in a different way, opening people's hearts now to help them shine.
Thank you, Mila. I really look forward to more work with you, partnering with you, and on creating and implementing these language access plans. My goal has always been to create partnerships with our clients to create kind of that relationship of partnership, because we can control and we have the expertise to deliver high quality language access, and our partners, our clients, can control the setting and the education um, of the service delivery. So the more we have partnership and cooperation, collaboration mindset um, around language access, the more fulfilling our work will be and more successful we are. So that's what makes me really excited about it.
Ahmed, thank you for joining us today for this episode of Language Matters. We are all so inspired by your story. And if any of our listeners have questions, please send them in your comments, and Ahmed will be, I'm sure, will be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mila, for inviting me. It's been a pleasure. I always look forward to speaking with you, and I will get back to every comment that people will send you and questions they have. So please do send them.